Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mike, and today I wanted to do a video just to talk a little bit about Restoration Shaman. Now, I've been playing Shaman ever since the Burning Crusades when I first fell in love with the class, and I've played it as a main for roughly, I would say, every expansion on and off. Between that and also, Prop Paladin and other things that I enjoy playing, but for the main part, I really love playing Restoration Shaman. However, today I wanted to talk about a little bit of the things that I dislike right now with Restoration Shaman and some things that I think Blizzard has to address in terms of changes that needs to come to Restoration Shaman to make them just feel a lot better compared to the other healers that are currently in the game. Now, obviously, right now Shamans can be someone that you can consider really competitive, but there are other healers that just play a little bit better and are more preferred in those bigger Mythic Plus keys. So I just wanted to share some gameplay with you guys on some keys that I was doing while sharing my thoughts on how exactly I feel Shamans need a little bit of a change. So I hope you enjoy, and be sure to comment your thoughts on the video as well, and thank you for watching. Now, as I mentioned before, I've been playing Shaman Healer since TBC, and I've always loved and enjoyed healing on Shaman compared to any other class. And that's just my personal preference. At the beginning, when we had the totems that would give buffs to everybody, it was always fun to be someone that you can, be considered as a, utility in your group just for the buffs that the totems would give you. And then as, totems have progressed over time, it's been fun to have totems that you have to use in certain situations and spots to make sure that you are using them to their full capacity and utilizing them to the best of their, the best of its ability. However, I feel like Shaman has also taken a couple of slights from Blizzard compared to some of the other healers. And what I mean by that is just some of the things that we've lost over, just the course of this expansion, but also in past expansions as well. Um, I think that there's a lot of things that Shaman can use as a quote unquote rework, but not really a rework, just a little bit of a change in style or a change of abilities. And I think with the new talent system and the way that the nodes are set up, I think we could have a possibility of having some of those changes happen, and Blizzard would just have to use them and see how they would play out. I think one of the biggest upsets for me as a Shaman healer is that when I play my Resto Druid or my Disc Priest or even my Monk healer, I feel that I can do a lot more on those guys in terms of damage, dispels, absorbs, things of that nature. Whereas my shaman, it's pretty much throughput or die. I still enjoy doing those things, but the way that they've created Chain Heal to kind of work now, and the way that you have to, consistently have it buffed through using your other heals, it can be a little bit annoying when everyone's taking damage. My best option is to Chain Heal to make sure everyone's alive, but I also have to make sure that I'm proccing for that situation. And if I don't, and people are probably going to die, then I have to use something useful like Spirit Link or Healing Tide or even Ascendance, unless I get a Deeply Rooted Elements proc, which I love the way that they've changed the Deeply Rooted Elements procs. I feel like they're a lot more consistent with the Riptide use. I feel like before you could use 30 Riptides and not get one, and then you could use 10 on another pool and you'd get a bunch of them, and it was kind of wonky. And I feel like now it's in a bit of a better spot. Still not perfect, right? It's still a chance-on proc thing, but I still feel that it's better than where it was. However, I just don't like the fact that we can't have something more powerful. And I remember playing Wrath of the Lich King beta, and Spirit Link was first introduced, and it wasn't the totem that we have today or later on ended up getting. It was more of a ability that you would place on somebody and allow them to basically mitigate damage off of that Spirit Link with everybody else. But if you were also healing that person, and is why people thought that it was super broken, and I think Blizzard ultimately scratched it, was because you would use it, and let's say you put it on your tank, but you were also healing your tank. Those Spirit Links and those links that were coming out to other people, mitigating the tank's damage, if he was getting healed by, let's say, Riptide that was just introduced, they would also receive that partially of that heal. So it was super busted and super broken. I think they just didn't know exactly how to fix that, so they just scratched it, and then eventually gave us the totem that we all know and have been using for the past some odd expansions, which is Spirit Link Totem. Now, I do remember they brought back this specific Spirit Link ability for PvP, which, granted, it was probably better, and I think it was still so broken that I think they scratched that too. So I don't think it really even ended up playing out the way that people thought it would. Like, oh, it'll just be a PvP thing, but no, it's just not in the game anymore. I feel like with the new talent node and the way that the Spirit Link node is, I feel like we could have that potentially in our tree, and it should be something that we would take for, say, 5-mans, right? It'd be a lot more cleaner to have Spirit Link, Earth Shield on your tank, and, you know, kind of have his damage mitigated. Although they don't take much damage, you could also put it on somebody else. Like, let's say you're consistent EPS who keeps dying, and you can put it on them and mitigate their damage, so that way they can, you know, live the key, and we can actually time the damn thing. And I feel like with that node after Spirit Link, which is the one that makes Spirit Link heal and, you know, do all that good stuff, I feel like that can be a two choice node, and that one could be one of the choices, and kind of give a rehaul to Spirit Link, because it kind of feels bad sometimes when you're in a key, and let's say you have 2 ranged and 1 melee and your tank obviously, and everyone's taking damage, and you absolutely cannot do anything else but just, you know, throughput heals. You don't have any more healing stream totems to throw down. So now what do? Ultimately, you just say, all right, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to link. And 2 people aren't in that link. And then they come and they be in the link for, you know, 2 seconds or maybe 1 second of the link. And it really didn't do anything much to them. So you still have to keep continuously throughput heal. That can be frustrating. Also, when you place a link down and there's shit falling, you know, maybe there's stuff on the ground that you have to get out of, circles or absorbs or whatever the case may be that you have to avoid, and then you put down a link and then you move it, and then, you know, some people are in it, some people aren't, and then more shit's on the ground, and the link is pretty much obsolete. You know, it's not even a factor at that point. Like, and it's frustrating as hell when you're a healer and thinking like, man, that could have saved us potentially, but it's just such bad placement that it's like, you know. And maybe Tide was down, maybe Ascendance was down too, like already from previous pools. Like, there's so many things that factor into it that are a little bit frustrating when you're, you know, pushing keys and trying to time things. You know, when you have all melee as a shaman healer, I feel like those are my best and greatest groups, especially with the way that our insurance works now when with our 4-set. I think it's really, really good for it. But yeah, it's just frustrating. It's super frustrating to do that. To have Spirit Links and they just have no value. That's just one change that I feel like Blizzard could do. They got rid of Mana Tide, which was annoying to me, because if people didn't realize, when you Mana Tide, you'd get a free chain heal, and now they put it in together with Healing Stream Totem or Healing Tide Totem, and it doesn't feel good either. I don't feel like I'm getting any mana back. If you would have made it where it's like 100% mana regen, then sure, it's a worth node to take, but I don't think it's worth it. I haven't seen a huge difference in like my mana gains from it. I think the Mana Tide and the extra node, if you really needed it that bad for a really long progressive fight on Mythic Raid or something, that you would take it, but now it's just kind of like irrelevant. And I know I've seen some people on the Warcraft lows that take it, and maybe it is important or something that you want to take early on when you don't have much crit, but once you start, like, I don't feel like mana has been a super problem for me, unless like the boss is just living way too long, and in that case you're probably gonna wipe anyway, so it's kind of pointless. The other thing that I also don't like that they did to shamans was for one, just the way that our damage profile is as a shaman healer. Like, I feel like we have no damage profile. Like, Acid Rain was super, super good in Season 1 of War Within. It got nerfed less than halfway through Season 1 of War Within. And then it's kind of just been whatever. Like, you know, you kind of can just guarantee it to have you do at least 200 to 300k every pull if you just Acid Rain and make sure that's on there. But Acid Rain also means that you better hope that you have all melee, because if not, that means your ranged DPS are just not going to be in that healing rain unless you're stacking for whatever the case may be, you know, like LOSing or whatever. So it's like it's a yin and a yang with Acid Rain and what the damage can actually do for you as a Resto Shaman, and that's kind of the annoying thing. Like, you could have just left it there, because there's times where I have to move that. Like, I have ranged and I'd rather have the healing rain on them because, you know, my Rep Pally bubbled, or my Unholy Decay I don't have to worry about, and my tank I definitely don't have to worry about healing on a certain pool, or my range is getting cucked. So like I want to have them have passive healing consistently. There's just little things that you think about when you're doing a key. Sometimes it's like, fuck them, I'm just gonna leave it there because I want the extra damage. I want to kill this mob. But that's annoying. We also got rid of, and they also got rid of AG for us, and not just us, but for Shaman in general. And I thought that was a stupid move to make for Blizzard's part. They did it only because it was broken for Elementu and Enhanced Shamans, and just made it where you didn't really need a healer if you had like a Shadow Priest and a Shaman with AG and doing a shit ton of damage. But I feel like they could have nerfed it for the damage doers and left it for the resto, because like it was just an opportunity to, like, a little bit of downtime that you have in a key on a trash pool to help out and do damage, and also like heal if it's not super bad damage. Like you can do a good extensive amount of healing with it, but it wasn't like you were topping people off, like, you know, when big hits were coming out or something. Like you would go back to healing, and that's just whack to me, because that's also was on a 2-minute window where it's like, maybe not every pool is something that you can put out a bunch of chain lightnings and do a shit ton of damage. So it's like, why would you take it away from us? And then they also took away Tempest from us, which was a damage doing ability. And now it's just like poof, like, you know, it was a free 2 chain lightnings, and then you also would use your nature swiftness on it and get another one. So it's like, yay. But that's all the damage you're doing, and then you let Acid Rain kind of just carry out your damage for the rest of the pool. And now that's just completely annihilated and gone, and we don't even, like, we don't have anything besides nature swiftness, and we have 1 charge of that. And honestly, I'd rather use it on a fat chain heal to heal everybody like to full health, because it's super good after that, or even a downpour because it's healing people for 2 million sometimes. So why the fuck would I even want to do damage with it? And I get upset about that just because other healers have these profiles where their damage equals healing. Monks, Disc Priests, and Druids in this tier all can do damage and heal. Evokers are basically known for that. Like, they can do damage and heal, and that's kind of like what they were done for. But like, every healer has the utility to do it, and Paladins too, to do damage and heal at the same time. And you just strip Shaman's ability to do that completely because you couldn't tune it for your DPS spec, and that's just the only excuse that you really have. And I think that shit is super corny to me, and I feel like that's really hurting people from even wanting to play Resto Shaman, but not only want to play Resto Shaman, play with them and not take them on these, you know, higher keys. Even though guys might have the gear or the IO, you just kind of rather have a Disc Priest or a Mistweaver, and hell, maybe even a Resto Druid, because they can do Frank's amount of damage in keys. Like, I've seen Druids get up to like 1.2 million in AoE, and then, you know, and no one's dead and everyone's living because their damage also does healing. It's like, why not us? So why did we get the shit end of the stick and get all of our damage profiles and things taken away? That kind of blows as a Shaman main. It's made me want to just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna switch and, you know, raid with my Shaman and do keys on another class. But I really enjoy my Shaman, and I enjoy doing keys on my Shaman, and I've always played Shaman, so it's like, it's the class I want to play. But we've really gotten the shit end of the stick when it comes to damage profile. Our healing is good, in my opinion. I feel like our healing is great. We don't really need much touching on our healing. If anything, we could get some things buffed, like just kind of either buff chain heals an issue, or also just like decrease the mana usage of all of our shit. Because that's another thing, other healers get mana back when they do damage and certain abilities, and we don't get shit. We have water shield, and it's mid at best. Like, we get lava, like if lava burst was unlimited for us, then sure, we can just lava burst consistently and get our mana back. But we get 2 charges and then procs with flame shocks active, and that's it. And it's not like the shit's giving us back 10% mana or 5% mana. The shit's giving us basically 1% mana, if that. So I just feel like, you know, it's just a thing. And people go, well, you're just complaining about mana, that means you got to get better. I mean, sure, you can say that, but when you're in these situations where everyone's taking damage in a key and you're trying to keep everybody alive and you really want to time the key and you're pumping every heal out, your mana just disappears at times. And you know, obviously it also depends on who you're playing with, but that means that we're scaling it by everyone's doing their job perfectly, and I can just do damage the whole time. Like, obviously I understand Blizzard's theory here in this, and they want healers to actually heal and do their jobs, but you've given every other healer the opportunity to build their mana back and heal while doing damage, but you haven't allowed shamans to do that. And so yeah, that's kind of my rant slash take on shaman healing right now. Do I love shaman healing still? Of course, I love everything about shaman healing, besides those tidbits that I've mentioned in this video. So I want to get your thoughts. You know, what's your favorite healer right now? What healer do you like running with in Mythic Plus and in Raid? We just saw, you know, we saw over the last week the Race to World First and seeing what Liquid's healing comps were and things like that. So just want to know everybody's opinion. What do you think of Resto Shaman when they sign up to your keys? Do you say, oh, fuck them and wait for a Disc Priest? Or do you actually give them a shot and the benefit of the doubt just because they have really good healing throughput and whatnot? But yeah, I would love to know all of your opinions, and make sure you catch me on twitch.tv/MikeOfficial1, just like my YouTube page. I'm always on raids Tuesdays, Wednesdays, 8 to 11 Eastern time. Fridays are also some of the raid days, and I'm always doing keys. But thanks again for tuning into the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.